Town Council to order. If everybody please stand for allegiance and prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We thank you this time to be together to discuss business about the town and to hear from the citizens tonight. I pray that you'll be with each one of us as we travel home. Keep us safe. And in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. All right. The reason this meeting was called was because several council people had gotten complaints and or questions, a lot of questions about the election, and also decided to convene a meeting for those people to have a chance to say something. So if you've got something you want to ask or say about the election, please raise your hand and I will call on you. That way we won't have people trying to talk over each other. Yes, ma'am.
I want to know what is the true purpose of this meeting?
What is the true purpose of this
What
meeting?
is the true purpose of the meeting? Because I know y'all supposed to be having a council meeting tomorrow.
We are. There were a number of people that either questioned or the residency of some of the candidates that were running for the during the election, and we have to decide if we're going to move forward with the election as it is, or if we're going to protest. And it had to be done before tomorrow when they would certify the election. Yes, ma'am.
Y'all didn't check to see whether or not these people had residency before this election.
Ms. Janet, you want to answer that?
This
is a town lawyer.
I'll be glad to introduce myself. I'm Janet Haskell. I've served as the town of Latta attorney for about 6 years now. I began in that role when Mr. Green, who had been the longtime town attorney, retired. The council does not have a role in determining eligibility of who goes on the ballot. That's not something the council is to do by statute. The council does, however, have a right to call meetings to hear the citizens' concerns when the citizens have raised questions about residency. And my understanding is there was one particular race that there was a question that had been raised repeatedly.
Okay, I have another question. Well, if the citizens already voted, to me that's about done. You know what I mean? For what?
I didn't hear a question, but
She said she thinks it's done because the citizens have voted.
If they had already voted, I'm saying, if they wanted to check on, they should have checked, made sure that everybody's residency was, even if they dang went on the ballot, they should have checked that before the true election was done. That's the way I see it.
who should have checked that?
Anybody. They're doing it now. So why didn't they do it earlier?
The council cannot address it in that manner. They don't have the right to decide who goes on a ball.
I didn't say they could decide who go on the ballot. I said, you saying they saying now, they questioning the residency of some of the people that was on the ballot.
That's my understanding. That's
Well, the election was yesterday. So if somebody was on the ballot and they wasn't in residency, it should have been checked before yesterday. It should have been questioned before then. Not after something is done, then start questioning. That's my thing with that now.
I understand.
Mr. Mr. Cormack?
Yes, question. Could you, as the city attorney, as a legal person, and I guess you would have some say-so in terms of, and maybe not, you may not be the person, but I think it would be good for all of us to kind of walk us through what that procedure is for when you come in, getting on the ballot to be.
Well, I will tell you, I have not researched that issue. I was contacted to research what the requirements might be for serving office in any locality. And according to my research, the state law provides that you must be eligible to vote, which requires 30 days. Residency, I believe it's actually defined as domicile. I tend to look at the actual law so I won't get the wrong words. So that is where the law stands.
So the law says that one has to register 30 days prior to the date of the election.
I believe it says that their domicile must be
Can you explain that?
for 30 days. Well, there's been a lot of court cases about domicile. And the state law is in Title VII, and there's a list of factors in the code sections of what's supposed to be looked at when determining residency.
What is the loophole they're using tonight? So what is they using tonight to say that whoever this candidate is does not reside in Latta or whatever the borderlines are?
The way the procedure goes is after the election polls close, there's a 48-hour period in which any election protest can be filed. And at that point, there's another 48-hour period in which the Municipal Election Commission is required to then hold a hearing on that protest. The Municipal Election Commission, which is citizens from the town of Latta, would then decide any protest. Any appeal from that protest would then go to the circuit court, which is the 4th Judicial Circuit here in Latta and Dillon County.
Question, assuming that we go through that entire process, what happens with the, in terms of the status quo, or what will be happening in terms of who will be governing the city? Does that mean, as we go through that process, that the existing set of commissions and mayor will stay in those posts as we go through that commission, or what happens in that case?
I do not know the answer to that off the top of my head. Some of these,
Can I address,
yes,
let me address this, as mayor of the town of Latta. The election commission has the right to deny a candidate if they know that they're not residing in the town of Latta. They should never certify that candidate. Once that candidate has been certified to be put on the ballot, then you vote for it. So actually, it goes back to the election commission, not we as council members. We didn't do that. It goes back to the election commission. They are the ones. However, it still puts the town, it still puts us as council members in a position because we appointed the election commission.
and I would like to address that just a second.
Okay.
I did try to go back and look a little bit at that particular issue. I did not see anything in the Municipal Election Commission handbook that indicated that they had to check the residency of anyone signing the petition, but not necessarily the candidates.
But they have to certify them, don't they?
Well, but if they're not checking residency to certify, I think my reading was that the certification was that the signatures on the petition were valid.
Who is our election commission?
Yes. Oh, you let me.
Our election
They were just appointed.
But that's 4 months, I think it's 4 months before, when they are sworn in as our election commission. They're supposed to start these proceedings for the election, and I imagine they did that.
Our election commission is Porky Lane Amanda Smith Grice. She was Smith, she's now married and is a Grice. And Tyrone Willis. What does it?
Tyrone Willis.
Willis, I'm sorry, I knew I wasn't looking at my notes, I should always look at my notes. Tyrone Willis.
Who filed the petition?
Hang on.
Who actually filed the petition? Where's the starting point for this petition?
What petition?
What we were discussing tonight, is what
Yeah.
you're doing, Jeff?
Right.
That's what this is.
The meeting is called tonight
You're talking about
to
the petition to
discuss.
file.
This meeting is to discuss whether or not the
I
council.
understand that. Who challenged the residency to bring this meeting today?
A number of people.
That's what we're looking for. That's information.
Let me say this, Mayor, let me say this, please. Let me say this. The citizens who are opposing this, everybody had the right to run. The only person that came to run against the candidate that was elected was Teresa. She stepped up as a citizen of the town of Latta to apply for the mayor's race. She is the only person. Where are all these other people? As I said last time when I was elected, 4 years ago, somebody put on Facebook, why don't we get somebody young to do it? And that's what I had suggested. But where are all these young people? Let them come forward. I mean, everybody has the right to come and apply and run it.
If a person know that they are not a resident of Latta, why would they put their name on something?
Can't answer that question.
The purpose of this meeting is for the town council to determine if they are going to file a protest, and that is going to be based on what the citizens want and what is.
Yes.
Was just based off of the statute that Ms. Janet read from as far as the definition of domicile. Was all the candidates, did all the candidates meet that qualification? And then the second part is, since voter registration is freedom of information, could every candidate that was eligible to run, were they able to vote here at this precinct? Because that would have explained, that would have at least qualified the domicile.
Well, see, that's a question. That's a question that would be handled at the hearing, if we have the hearing.
Domicile is,
They all voted here.
Okay.
Some question, I don't know.
domicile is defined by the court partially as intent, so it's very hard to know intent.
Listen, I have a question, I just want to say something. Oh, can I was a candidate in this race. We had right at 500 voters come out and vote. And what we need to do, if these people who were calling and complaining, if they're not coming here, if we can't get the election commission to be here to answer these questions about these people, there is no purpose for this meeting. My thing is,
Hang on.
we have, I'm sorry.
Your opinion is wonderful, but it's not pertinent. The whole point is, everybody who is here to tell me we shouldn't be here doing this, that's your opinion, that's wonderful. There are other people who have an opinion that we should be here to talk about this. There are right there to tell them they can't talk.
But I agree,
Okay?
I feel that. But in this election, I lost. I was up, but then all of a sudden, in 12 hours, 229 votes go to one of the candidates. I didn't question that. I respect the citizens' wishes.
Exactly.
My thing is, this time, really and truly, to ease the tension and everything, except for what we've done. Anybody that does have a question, anybody, you get that election commission, you let them have their meeting, answer those people questions. If they want to run, 2 years, look at the city limit map, find your residence, put your name on the ticket and run. You need help, I'll show you. But all the commentation now, all of this now, as I said before, I be here, I come to meetings, I come to town functions. I do not recall seeing or hearing a lot of these names that come out during this election with so much to say, but will not run, but will not come to these meetings. I was out there at a town cleanup. We had maybe 2 council members and 3-4 other citizens. Where were they then? My thing is, let's respect these citizens. Let the election commission do what they do with their certification at 11 a.m. tomorrow and make their decision. Because once again, if we do not have the election commission here to answer the questions, if the town attorney does not get the full understanding or did not read thoroughly, that is not a legal answer for us. So my thing is, what we should do as the people of this town is let it go. Let it go. But that's just my opinion, as you see.
Thank you.
But you can get rich person.
We appreciate that, and here again, this meeting was called, just like you, I did not win the election either. And I'm not here to overturn any elections. The question became, is a certain individual that ran a resident of the town. We have already had a problem with one person who ran for mayor before, who is not a resident of the town and caused a lot of problems.
I do agree, but that's
And when citizens, some who may have voted or may not have voted, I have no idea, because you said 500 voted. Well, if all right, well, if around 500 voted,
it was. Oh,
that means there's about 400 citizens in this town that didn't vote. Okay?
But would you agree that this has been the highest election that this town had outside of our referendum?
Yes, Robert.
So, my thing is, once again, all because you had candidates out there working, talking with the citizens, not one candidate touched the application, not one candidate called in a ballot, not one candidate violated any rules, election rules of this. I understand what you're saying, but if you say that, where is that proof? I need people to come with this tangible, black and white proof where we or anybody committed voter fraud or anything. And what this man said is the absolute truth. If you could vote in this election, evidently you had your stuff together as a candidate.
Well, first off, let me say that no one here is saying that anyone committed any voter fraud or anything, even though...
You have not been on Facebook? You have not known why we here?
Have you seen anyone up at this table mention voter?
Only because y'all have a council man to speak to.
You said this is about voter fraud.
He is a town administrator. He is called to this meeting. He has, whatever happened, 4 people got together, or 1 person, however this meeting was called, but we're having it.
You've had your chance to speak. Does somebody else have anything they want to say?
I would like to hear from Ms. Teresa.
Okay, let her go.
All right, Ms. Carolyn?
I would like to hear from Ms. Teresa, since I think she got up when we asked who was the one that, brought this issue to the.
I'm not the only one that has questions.
No, it's for you, not you, not, and nobody else. Speak for yourself.
Thank you. I am definitely feeling that, and I understand y'all say you voted, but my thing is if we keep doing this, then we're going to have everybody who lives in Dillon running Latta. I'm for Latta. I always have been. For the last 14 years I've lived here, and I believe Latta should be represented by people who actually live here, work here, and do here.
I've been here 63 years and they always been crooked.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, ma'am.
63 years and they always did what they wanted to do. So I don't know what's the difference. The town of Latta as a whole.
Well, ma'am, I can't answer that. I did graduate from school, high school here, but I left for 25 years. I've been back for 14, and in that 14 years, I have spent that time using my family's money to give back to this community every day.
So is that the reason why?
I can't hear you, ma'am.
So the money that you gave to the city, was that a bribe to say,
I didn't give you
I want
money.
you, because I am going to give you some money, I want you to vote for me.
No, ma'am, I don't give money. I don't give money, ma'am. I work at Helping Hands Food Pantry, and I've been doing it for 14 years. Everybody has to have the exact same eligibility to get food there. I don't give food just to give food.
No, I'm not talking about the helping hands, I'm talking about your donation. You gave a donation to the recreation center.
I was asked that was brought to my attention that they wanted to have football, they didn't have the equipment. I'm sorry if that came across wrong, but that's just what I do. I've also given $5,000 to the school for robotics.
So we as citizens, we can take the attitude that, or the opinion, that the money that you gave to the recreation center was a bribe to say, now citizens, I'm here, I'm helping your city, I deserve your vote. And so we did not vote for you. So now are you upset because of that?
No, ma'am, I'm upset because I don't think people that live in Dillon should be running Latta.
The person that won the election, the gentleman lives here in Latta.
No, ma'am.
Yes, he does.
Where does he live?
He lives in his house.
Which house?
Over there.
The one with no door on it that has a piece of
It
plywood in
doesn't
front?
matter.
All right, well,
But that is still your house.
all right.
No matter what the condition is of your house, it is still.
Everybody, listen, if you look at this right here. Our town administrator is just sitting back there watching, not commenting, but just watching this. Love it.
Mr. Drawhorn, if you cannot be quiet, you will have to leave. Okay?
That's what I'm doing.
I gave it to her.
Go ahead.
My question is, y'all are having this meeting to determine if y'all should vote based on what the townspeople say. So are you waiting on the people that are out there to come in and talk to you and make a decision, or have you already made a decision?
Well, there's been no decision made.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Which town people? Because we're here, we're speaking, but you're saying that you have to worry about the other people. What other people? Because they aren't here to voice their opinion, to give y'all all something to vote on.
I don't know that yet, because I haven't heard from everybody in the room.
Please say so.
Is there gonna be all right, is there gonna be a vote here tonight, whether for you to proceed or not? Is that part of it?
If we have enough people say, yes, we think it should be looked into, the residency issue, then we will have a vote to go to the election commission and they will have a hearing. And any evidence.
What I'm asking is, if the citizens here vote not to go forward, is it over with?
The citizens here are giving us information, and then we'll make a decision on whether we want to vote or not.
So in other words, I'm saying,
You're not gonna get a vote.
we won't get a vote exactly what you're saying.
There you go.
You got it.
Hang on 1 second. I had a lady back here. Okay.
So I just have, I think I understand this, you have to be able to vote in order to be on the ballot, okay? We have an election commission, who these guys are supposed to check out each candidate, correct? Who holds that commission accountable to make sure they do their job properly? So if that's something that we need to
Council
look
and the
at,
citizens.
then we should have, do we need to go back and have our election commission talk, make sure that they did their due diligence and their background checks, and that everyone actually had votership or proper residency in the town of Latta?
That was supposed to be trained.
That's my question. How do we go about that legally? If we don't know, if they were not held accountable, can they go back and do their due diligence?
Part of the issue is, under these laws, we have very, very short time frames, some of the shortest I've ever seen. You only have 48 hours from the time the polls close for any protest to be filed. You then only have 48 hours to have the hearing. And then if there's a hearing, if there's a protest, then there's a hearing. And people come and present their evidence. At that point, before the commission adjourns, They have to make the decision. So part of it is the time. I certainly get your point. I see what you're saying.
Because if we hadn't done our background check and our due diligence and I'm a citizen of Latta, I live in Latta. So I would hope that my commission have told me that these guys, yes, they're eligible to run because they live in Latta, they're residents of the town of Latta, and they can vote here. But if they can vote here and they have a residence somewhere else and they can vote somewhere else, where do they choose to vote? Are you allowed to vote in 2 places?
If I can respond to that,
Please.
let me tell you that in order to, when the ballot's kind of set, the law only requires, the state law only requires 30 days prior to the vote. So at the time the ballot's kind of set, I don't think that 30 days has hit yet. So that's the period, and it's between them being set to go on the ballot and the vote. So there's no way they would know in advance at the 31st day or the 30th day before the vote, are they going to have resided there? So it's kind of in the middle there.
This is the council's due diligence to give everybody an opportunity to question anything that may have been missed in the time frame that has been allotted by the state of South Carolina, according to the state of South Carolina Constitution.
But
This is your time to question.
Doesn't the domicile, isn't the word intent the key in it? Intent to be the resident.
That is what our courts have talked about. Our Title VII on voter registration gives a list of factors.
Yes, ma'am.
And if I can address Mr. Drawhorn just a second, I heard you a while ago when you commented about not knowing all the law. I will tell you, I don't know all the law. I don't think there's any attorney that does. I only look into stuff what I'm asked.
No, what I said, what I was going to say before I stopped was, now we're back to the one who said that they didn't know because they didn't read into it all the way. So now, to me, now that opinion is non and void.
Well, I was not asked to look at, nobody with the commission asked me, or the council, because I answered to the council, asked me to look into it back when the commission, I guess, was looking at the petitions and setting the ballot.
Well, I have a question. What are we going,
Hang on.
The candidate, you said, doesn't live in Latta because the house isn't up to whatever. There's a lot of houses that aren't up, but have you asked the candidate before he put their name on the ballot, where they're resident here? How do you get on the ballot then if you're not a resident?
As she said, as the attorney said, there's a petition process. You get your petition signed, you turn a petition in, but that petition is turned in 60 or 90 days before the election. It was back in September. The election wasn't until December. So you've got months before the election. You only have to be a resident, according to state law, 30 days before the election. So there's no way for them to say, all they have to do is tell the election commission, yeah, I plan on being there, I'll move into town by the time the election happens.
Okay, so do we have solid proof that the candidate that you're saying doesn't live in Latta, doesn't really live in Latta? Do you have solid proof that he doesn't live in Latta?
The question tonight that we're trying to find out is, does this group of people want to find solid proof that the candidate lives in Latta?
Shouldn't that be the job of the commission?
Well, it will be.
Because if we feel like they didn't do their job, I'm just saying properly, shouldn't that be something that we start over? And that as citizens of Latta, that we make sure that they did the due diligence to check each and every candidate.
There's a lot there, and I think start over was a word that I could call.
Well, maybe not start over, but to make sure that we did what we were supposed to do to check our candidates out appropriately.
Well, here again, if the requirement of residency is only 30 days, they probably did their due diligence at that time because there was only so much they could check at that time. Now, if someone comes up and says, I know for a fact this person's not a resident, and you take it to them and you can prove it to them, then they can say, okay, you're right, they're not a qualified candidate because they did not reside in the town within the 30 days before the election.
So do we give them that opportunity now?
Has that been established?
That's what we're trying to establish.
That's what we're trying to
Is that not,
establish.
I guess,
Well, the candidate, is he here tonight or is she here?
No.
Don't see.
Okay, where they addressed that, there was gonna be a meeting questioning where he lived or she lived?
Yes.
I do not know, but this is not a evidentiary. We're not going to present evidence tonight, and we're not going to ask them to present evidence. That would be if we decide to vote to look at it and look at the evidence. Then we will do that within 48 hours. Yes, Andy.
I just got one question. The elephant in the room is Robbie Calvert. Did he vote when we voted?
He did.
Why are we here?
I've lived here all my life. All my life I've lived here, and I have a proposed registration for here. But I was told I was not an eligible candidate to run for mayor when I tried to go run. Because I was gonna run for mayor, but I stay 700 yards from the town limit. So I was told I couldn't run. So then I asked what the law was, and all the law said that you had to have legal domicile or the intent to live in town. I said, well, at this time, I can't prove that. I have property in town, but I can't prove I'm gonna live in town. So therefore, I wasn't able to, well, I chose not to. On the ballot. But I lived here all my life. This is my town, and I work here, I have a business here, and I'm eligible to vote. I vote right here, but I can't run. So that, I guess that's my question, is that in 2 years, I'm gonna put my name on the ballot.
does that require electricity, running water, intent to live, domicile? And not just property?
Yes.
Yeah, like,
So my thing is, whenever Earl was here, Earl was not in town.
Yes.
When it was challenged, I was told that JT was not in town as well. He was a yes man, so nobody bothered him.
They brought that to the town.
So the mayor brought that up at that time. They said it's better to have him now than to try to get somebody else. Robert Warren, give him a chance. We know he's an elephant in the room. He knew he was an elephant, going to be an elephant in the room when he got on that ballot. He thought he was going to lose. And when you won, you want the challenge. The truth of the matter is, everybody had a fair opportunity to run. Some people didn't win, they're sitting in this room, they're upset. That's the only time things get challenged, when you're upset and things don't go your way. Truth be told, at the end of the day, he has the intent, well, his lights was already in on November 1st. The water, he came here on November 1st. He went to the tax assessor's office on November 1st. He has receipts from November 1st. That's within 30 days of the election. The voter registration was done in time. He voted here. You allowed him to vote here. You allowed him to pay $100 fee to run for mayor. What is the problem? What are we protesting? Like he said, you allowed him to vote. What are we doing here? If it didn't work out, you got 2 years to get yourself together, come back and try it again. That's the end of the story. It's always hard to enjoy our victory because we're getting punished because you felt like you deserved to be here. If you would have deserved to be here, the people would have spoken. The people spoke that way. The people spoke for who they wanted to be here. Give them people a chance to run in those 4 years. You got 2 years, 3 seats to be up. Come back, try it again. Maybe we'll vote for you. Maybe we won't.
I lost 3 times. I have a question. I have a question. In the state law, where it refers to domicile, does it say that your house, the intent has to be within 1 year?
I don't recall that anywhere.
I think it's there.
Domicile doesn't mean head and bed. Domicile
The
doesn't
intent
mean head and bed.
Head and bed. Head and bed.
Not
Basically, so Anybody can have a whole here. Technically, point approval, if I was to say I live on Pine Street, but I go and visit somebody for 6 months to a year and come back and say I want to run, is that legal or not?
Yes, I think that is your home.
But that'd be the tenth, say that's your home.
Permanent residence of Lake is a return to.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Is there anybody that has not already spoken or asked a question that would like to speak? Yes.
Can we go and get this out of the way, go home?
I'm sorry.
Can we go on and vote and get this out of the way so we can keep going?
There's no questions being asked.
Well, there's been no question, no one has asked a question. I guess I'll go ahead and do that so we can move on. Does anybody on the council wish to make a motion to protest the election based on the residue of people who ran?
Well, the people that seem to protest, are they here?
I'm not protesting. If I wanted to protest, I would, I'd speak up and say I protest.
Well, why you put all this stuff on Facebook then if you don't protest? Why don't you let that be?
If we can, I think when we're getting ready to try to kind of, that is something that is told that.
All right, well, if I don't hear anybody wishing to make a motion, then I guess we're going to adjourn.
Hold on a second, I got a question.
Yeah.
So if, I'm gonna ask everybody this. If we know we're talking about Robbie, so I'm tired of playing these games. If when Robbie moves here, or let's say in 6 months from now, or 8 months from now, that Robbie hasn't moved to Latta, and is not living in Latta, then what?
Robbie won.
So we're gonna let a citizen Dylan be the mayor of our city.
That's what we let a citizen of Marlboro County be the mayor. We let a citizen that stayed in line of arms be on council, but he was a yes man, so they didn't bother him. So at the end of the day, even if it's 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, 10 months, he got 4 years. Because at the end of the day, he won. He won. I agree. So if the people spoke, and you're going to challenge the people's voice, that means you don't care about the people's voice.
That's why I'm asking. I'm asking that to ask this. If anybody is here that thinks that, I'm not saying, does anybody here want to kick Robbie out? But does anybody here want the election commission to make that decision? Because that's their job.
I tell you what. Who's saying that? I'll make the motion. They want to make the motion.
Oh, wait a minute. You said represent the people. This is a citizen of Latta. Who wants the election commission to do it?
You're not called on.
No, he called.
No, he was making a statement.
I tell you what, since everybody likes to point the finger at me, I've got 22 more days to do this, and I've been the bad person for you guys all the time. I will make the motion, and it has to be seconded by somebody on council, so that I won't be the only one that does this. But I'll make the motion that the town of Latta hold a hearing to check the residency of the candidate that ran for mayor. Is that within my authority to do that?
Yes, you certainly can make that.
All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
The only reason I wouldn't second it. She is a citizen of Latta, and that matters too. That matters too. And the only reason I can't say it is because I think that it would diminish what little bit we got left up here. And that's the true story. I'm not gonna second it, but I'm sorry and I'm embarrassed as to how this council's acting. I am freaking embarrassed.
I know that's right.
To be a part of it.
Thank That's councilman right there. That is a councilman right there.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.